Oh, well, hello there, and welcome to part two of In Pieces. I hope part one gave you everything that you wanted, if not more. And seeing as though that you're here for part two lets me know that you watched the entire length of part one. Right. And also with the fact that you've heard everything that needs to be heard, that way we can get a little bit deeper into part two. And now that I've known that you've listened to everything in part one, that lets me know that you're ready to rock and roll with the heaviness that comes with part two. So let's get into it. Now moving into how does it feel? Now I'm going to be honest with y'all. I listened to this full song and I only listened to this full song because that is the point of this video, is to do a deep dive on the storyline of this album. And because of that, we have to listen to all tracks. Howsoever, I will stand on what I say. And what I say is, I only listened to the song one time. One time only. I just wanted to listen to the song so I can get this storyline and I can figure out where it fits in the concept. I only did it once, and what I'll say from that is, it is a beautiful song. It is a really beautiful song. Will I go back to that song? No. If I ever listen to that song, am I listening to the first 15 seconds of that song? Yes. And then I'm skipping it because I'm not listening to that man. We start off with how does it feel? And how does it feel? It has the beginning notes of awareness. Like I said, we now are walking back into the messy relationship, knowing that, thinking that we can leave at any moment because we've already seen it for what it is, even though that's just going to complicate things even further. But I digress. So we go into it with awareness, choosing to stay for the fun moments slash benefits while putting up a guard, I guess, to prevent further heartbreak. I don't see how that is really gonna hold up. And as you probably guessed it, I hope you did, you also don't get how that's gonna hold up. But let's explore this album further. Let's see how it goes. And so we start off with the beginning lines. I gave you more than you wanted. I gave you more than you needed. So tell me, how does it feel to lose the one you believe in? Now, that that comes from a place of hurt. That comes from a place of hurt, in reclaiming your worth, kind of, if you will, enough to know what you brought. But the only thing I'm bringing to the table is this iPhone. And so it is definitely coming from that place while also adding in the perspective of Chris Brown. One thing I noticed in the first and only time listening to the full song was that he didn't sound like somebody who was the partner, taking on the perspective of the partner in the story, more so as in the person that's also been hurt in the relationship from the toxic partner itself. It added more to the perspective of hurt and getting a little bit more of the structure of the relationship and seeing how much you gave yourself in it, to the point where, like I said in previous ones, they were losing themselves because they gave so much. This song was essentially about two overextenders that constantly gave and wasn't in the relationship for their partner to give back into them. It was just a constant give, and it was never a, I got this, now I'm going to give this back to you. It was always just, I'm taking everything. and I'm giving you all that I've got. I ain't got no more. And so with that, it was kind of sad again to re-listen to, for the first time and the only time, to re-listen to, because going off of the story of losing yourself, it's almost like I'm hearing her re-lose herself. And then we're going back into it. Like I said, we chose to go back into the relationship. And because we chose to go back into a relationship by seeing it for what it is, now we're reflecting on said relationship in real time. We're seeing the insecurities, we're seeing the flaws, we're seeing the behaviors that we're enabling, we're seeing the behaviors that we're shutting down in real time. So we are going to go back. It's kind of like going back memory lane. Almost like how when Agatha took Wanda down that traumatic memory lane to get her powers back. Sometimes you got to go through it to come out stronger. And that's how we get into Feel Me Cry. Now, what I would like to note about Feel Me Cry is as we're descending into more hurt, almost going back into the sense of losing herself again, there's a transition. It's a really nice transition, one that I would have never heard because I only listened to How Does It Feel How Many Times? Once exactly. Through that, it goes bum 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 bum. Feel me cry. Ba na 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 bum. It could act on what I just said as far as our descent back down, or it could just be a transition that I kind of don't know about because in my notes I was also confused as to the reason how we got here. As soon as we keep going past the syllables and sound effects, really, we get into the first verse. Ain't nobody realer. I'll ride. I'm sliding even if the world is against us. Won't let them fuck with you because I'm 10 toes with you. So they could say what they want as long as you know somebody loves you back like I do. Somebody's got your back like I do. And what I would like to note is within those lyrics, she's asking the specific line of, so long as you know somebody's got your back like I do, in a question. It's posed as a question almost as if how I took it was, you know that I've got your back, right? Like, you know, I am always going to be supporting you, always doing this. Like, I'm telling you this, but some part of me feels as though you're questioning my loyalty when it comes to those things. So now it's putting me in a weird place with the person that I'm supposed to be with doesn't even trust me. But I've been vocal at all times that I am here to stay. It was more so not only just the partner, but I posed the question was like, who was doubting? But more importantly, like I was saying before, what is the doubt the connector between How Does It Feel and Feel Me Cry? Outside of that, I don't know where to really put this song because there's moments where it feels happy and then there's moments where it feels sad and then it has that gray area in between where I just don't know where to really put it because along with the title saying Feel Me Cry, through that action is a sense of intimacy and closeness that is being referred to as wanting that, or it feels good to be with you in this type of way. But on the flip side of its literal sense, somebody is crying, somebody is hurt, somebody is betrayed. So it feels good to be in this intimate space, while also the reason that we're here is because I am hurt. I feel betrayed in a way. And so we have notes of that going on in the song. And so it kind of really puts you in it. Just like what's going on? We're here and then we're not here, and then And so when we jump to the chorus, if you look at it, and it starts with, "And you're loving me right, my tears can't hide, I want you to feel me cry." And that part specifically, I don't know whether or not it's a sense of feeling happy or what's going on, like how I said before. But then we keep going on, and it's saying, "An emotional high coming down my thighs, I can't hold it inside." Now, one, I think it's a nice visual, as we all know where that part is coming. Maybe it could be like a sex appeal, who knows? But what I also like about this is, if we go back to Body Do, in her saying that I can only rely on you for your body because I know that's the only thing that's good to me. And then we bring it back to this part where I can't hold it inside, their satisfaction, but also it can go right back into the sense of feeling emotionally overwhelmed. There's so many things happening right now, as we just heard in the previous lines with an emotional high. Everything needs to be released, both sexually, emotionally, and mentally. And that is really, at this kicking us off, that's where we are right now. We're just overwhelmed. Not, maybe it could be a reference to Overwhelmed Ungodly Hour. Who knows? That's my shameless plug. I really love that album. Anyway, so at that last line where we get, "I want you to feel me cry, baby," specifically the last word, baby, it closes out the chorus, and then we go into verse number 2. But what's interesting about how that word itself was said, it was almost as if it either closed off both statements that I gave before, or it kind of ends that sense of sadness and longing, and then it goes into a much more happy or good moment, because we immediately go into, "Nothing goes down like your kiss, you've got that something that I can't resist." And that completely goes against the, "I'm at an emotional high, I'm overwhelmed, I want you to feel me cry," in that sort of way. So then we get to 2 minutes and 49 seconds into the track, and at that point it goes into a break. Not a silence, but it goes into a break, not really anything, and it kind of feels like within the production it's building up. And then it gets to that part where there's a release. I think it's a release, going all the way back to the top of the song when it says, "We're at an emotional high. I'm feeling overwhelmed, but I'm still keeping strong. I'm still going." But then at this point, it's like, there's only so much you could take. And then it's got to go somewhere. And so that's what I feel as though happens. And then it also plays into the lyric choices itself, where as soon as that release happens, you've got background vocals, you've got ad libs, you've got a more solid, if you will, production, or there's things added to it, more additive elements. I'm gonna go with that one. Additive elements, and then it gets louder and louder and louder, and then all of a sudden the beat changes and it goes into the wah 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 wah. But we were just in Bum, 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 bum. What is that, guys? I think that's a release. I think that's a release of everything that was really either holding her back or there was too many things and space needed to be free. Let's hold space for this song, guys. No, I'm just joking. And so that is where it takes us to. And then it dials back down a little bit. And then we get into Make It Look Easy. No matter how many times I break, I put myself back together every damn time. Can I be honest with you? That is the start of Make It Look Easy. And we were already on a slow descent into vulnerability with us, the audience. But this track, I feel as though, not my favorite, not amongst my top 5, but I feel as though this is the core of the album itself. Of course, you have In Pieces and Heart on My Sleeve, but this is the vulnerability in honesty with herself that really sets it apart from the other tracks in a way. And we'll see as we keep going on. We have a crash and slow burn type of situation going on throughout this whole track. And then you start to wonder. You really start to wonder. When would being honest turn into just being too critical? When does you being open and honest about yourself turn into, all right, maybe you're conflating it a little bit. Maybe you're not that bad of a person. I think you're just being too critical at this point in time. But then you look at yourself as like, no, I'm just being honest. So when do the two lanes, get merged? I guess we'll never know, because I still can't figure that one out. And so, as much as the song is critical, there are spaces for escape. Even though the song is saying, every time I'm broken, I get broken every single time, I put myself back together. There's still lines that completely throw it off with saying, I just want to be pretty. I want to be a pretty girl. And so when given those lines, I start to think to myself and I say, you know what? If I was being overly honest with myself to the point where other people would confuse it for me being too critical of myself, and all of a sudden I just pop out and I say, I want to be pretty, I want to be a pretty girl, I would take that as me trying to escape this mortal realm. And so then we get into points of escapism where the subject matter, when being accountable for yourself gets too much. Okay, let's throw in some lines. Let's throw in some points to really lighten the mood or to go ahead and get me out of that reality that I was just in. It's really escaping. And it reminded me of Cranes in the Sky. Because even when you listen to the song, it kind of has that same feeling. Specifically in Cranes in the Sky, whenever Solange would say, I ran away. I traveled 70 states. I tried to drink it away. I tried to dance it away. I tried to blow it away. So another reason why I believe that this is a core track of the album is because thematically, keeping along to herself and the other people in the storyline, whoever they are, the lines kind of explain the why to certain behaviors that were described and presented in past tracks. So I think now is the perfect time to play a little mini game. I'm going to read to you lines of Make It Look Easy, and you are going to try and tell me which of the previous tracks does this address. Are you ready to play the game? All right, let's get into it. First line. We have, facing all my fears, I don't want to feel. Now, what song do you think this could be playing into? Is it A, Pray It Away, B, I Don't Mind, C, Worried, or D, Feel Me Cry? Now, if you guess Pray It Away, you got that one. You did get that one. That is immediately what I thought that line was about. I don't want to feel anything, so I'm going to release it to the upper realms. Let's go into round two. So now we have beating on myself like I was wrong with you. Now I'll give you four options for that one. Is it A, Body Do, B, Falling for You, C, How Does It Feel, D, Lose You? Ding, ding, ding to the people that guess How Does It Feel. Now, that line, I took it as, you had to go back into the relationship to see it for what it was, to really be accountable for it all. And in that one, she realized where everything was going wrong and how exactly it was going wrong. Round three. Hate being alone, there's nowhere to run. Now, is it A, Someone's Calling, B, Body Do, C, Falling for You, or D, How Does It Feel? You are correct. If and only if you said Body Do. That was it. Now that one was, I feel as though it was a bit more clear cut to it all, while saying, I don't want to be by myself. I need to be with somebody. I need somebody to fill in this void right now, because I can't do it. I need to rely on something. I need a quick fix. And that's what Body Do comes to do. Now we're going to do the fourth and final round. Okay, you better be ready. And you better get this one right. All right? Please don't make me feel way too much for me. Now, is it A, I Don't Mind, B, Falling for You, C, How Does It Feel, or D, Feel Me Cry? Now I'm gonna assume you said Feel Me Cry because, like I said, you were supposed to get this one. But if you didn't, you got that, and you better say you got that. Did you get Feel Me Cry? That's what I thought. Because it goes off by saying, I don't want to feel anymore. And I took that as that can only come as a result to feeling too much, being overwhelmed. And so if you got 4 for 4, you don't have a Wendy's combo. So I don't know what to tell you. But anyways, you got them all right. You better. From the song itself, there were specific words throughout all the lines that were getting repeated or talkbacks or whatever the effect is, really. And I would like to point them out to you. So we have control, show, fear, feel again, bleeding out, crying out. Now, I take that as it could be similar to worried, when I pointed out that the full range on the word worried shows that that is really where we are at within ourselves. But in this song, it's more so of, I'm showing you, I'm telling you all the things that I feel on a 24/7 basis. that I'm choosing not to publicize, really talk about all the time. These are things that I typically keep to myself. But I'm being honest with not only myself, but with my consumers. Outside of those words, we get into parts of the tracks towards the end where we get to the 2 minute and 34-second mark where we get a yeah. Now, to somebody else listening to this and they hear a yeah out of nowhere, it could kind of go with the song. But when I listen to that song, just as we were talking about this earlier, we're being honest, we're being critical, we're kind of escaping ourselves, but that's where we're at. So when you hear a yeah, it's like, now wait a minute. That doesn't add up. That doesn't match with the song. And then later on we get a I do. And then you're just like, now wait a minute, what's happening? And then we get another yeah. And so I pointed out that this doesn't match up to the song, but to the people that have listened to this album, you know what track it does match up with? I Told You. Now we're going to get into that track because that track is its own thing. It's its own thing. The album, the track itself, I believe it to be its own thing. Even though it doesn't match within the general setting of this song, it's intentional to show us that there is always going to be a shift between your low points, your medium points, and your high points, where maybe sometimes you go from a low to just a high. And we're going on the journey to figure out what it is that took us from here to here. Here. And so I would like to note that towards the end of the song, at the 2 minute and 48-second mark, we get these murmurs almost feeling like a deflated balloon. And I take that as being openly honest and critical, but there was also aspects of escaping. But for the most part, it was being open, honest, and critical. That it took a toll on her to really get to that point, and then on top of that, get to a point where that's going to be released to the public. Because like I said, we're at this low point. We're about to go up, but we're still here. So it's all just draining. And so that's how the song closes out, and then we get into Lose You. And so as of right now, we're in the middle part. We're not necessarily at the low where we were before or at the high we'll soon to be. We're here. And this track serves to explain how we get to the high point, which is I Told You. So Lose You, I feel, is the baby step to change. It's simply putting it out there with the opening lines, I don't want to lose you, boy. I gotta save myself. Can't count on anybody else. That's real, you know. But it's also going along with being in that honest, transparent sense of saying, at the end of the day, we can't keep cycling through these waves of emotions. We can't keep doing that. Somebody is going to get badly hurt. In fact, somebody's going to be broken. Then they're going to be in pieces. And so we kind of have those moments where we can't necessarily remember the good without also bringing up the bad in the relationship. They are really bringing up the cracks and faults that led to where we are now. And as the song progresses, we go from pointing out the cracks and faults to then realizing, no, we can't keep doing this. And so as we go through that, then we get lines such as, and then that plane comes racing down. We want to fix it but don't know how. Now I hate everything that I see. Now you hate everything about me. And one thing I like about that one is it's a story within a story, but it's also transparent in telling us how this all came to be. We were going great. things were happening. There were things that we didn't see that contributed to maybe a malfunction, a problem, maybe a big issue. It was there. We just either didn't see it or somebody chose not to see it. Now it's actually happening and we don't know what's up. But where it's taking us is somewhere ugly, some place that no matter what we do, we cannot look at each other the same. The emotions that came with us being happy to the emotions that came with us feeling disdain for one another will be there. They will always be in tandem with each other, and we can't keep that up. And then we go with other lines of some things are better together, some things are better apart. I don't want to lose you, boy, but I've got to save myself, can't count on anybody else. That thing gets repeated, almost as if it's an affirmation in a way, not necessarily a 100% positive affirmation, but more of a I've got to be real with myself. And by being real with myself, that's helping me to want and seek better for me. And that's what I got to do. And now we're at our highly anticipated track, Told Ya. And so now, of all the tracks, we are on cloud 9. We are, in fact, on a high with Told Ya. However, I think this is a persona song. I don't think we've gotten to this high place naturally. Specifically because at the start of the song, thanks to the amazing feature of Missy Elliott, we get, in quotes, new Chloe. Almost as if this is the birth of a character, a front, if you will. And then as the song keeps progressing, before we really get into the verse, we get, I thought I told you, I'm a soldier. Now, fun little spin-off side series of going into a deep dive of, we all know what the soldier is, but let's figure out why specifically soldier was used in this song. So here's a mini music history lesson. My first guess to going with the word soldier comes from Destiny's Child Soldier, of course, released in 2004, where this song's premise comprised of desiring a man that checks off all the boxes. He's strong, he's raw, he's Southern, he's direct. He's really about it. If anything, he is the only one standing on business, and that is the one for them. In a direct quote from Destiny's Child about the song Soldier, they had to say, well, Soldier is a very Southern beat, so we naturally thought of Lil Wayne and T.I. We're big fans of them. They're very talented, and they added to the rawness and realness and edge to the song, and I know we like to recite their raps more than we like to sing our song. Now, from that already confirmed everything for me when it comes to that premise of the song. It is somebody that's very raw and real, and have always got an edge to themselves. Now, if we take it then to go to Grills by Nelly, that was released in 2005, funny enough, that song interpolates Destiny's Child. And that song embodies what is desired from Destiny's Child when they made Soldier. And that stands on exactly what they said. Now, a fun side story to that side story is that Can't Day by LL Cool J, released in 1987, it is kind of iffy on being in love. So if we add all three of those elements together and put them in reference to the use of the word soldier in pieces, it all ties back to the culture and really speaking to embodying what was sought after and, in fact, perceived as in grills to be the soldier that is being constantly affirmed to and told that is within the new Chloe persona of In Pieces. And thank you so much for that mini music history lesson, Khalil. That was really nice. That was really nice. And another thing that I would like to add that Khalil really hit the nail on with your theory, like I said, that was really good, is the fact that the use of Missy Elliott's feature really affirms the idea and theories that were set into the past two songs that were used as the foundation to the word soldier. Missy Elliott is a living embodiment of a soldier. She's been through it all. She is an icon, a living legend, a mogul, a trendsetter, and a lot of the times her music was ahead of the time. She is the soldier. She's got it all. And so that's why I feel as though the amount of history that could be within the track itself helps build this character, persona, hype woman that is within Chloe herself that gets her to that high point of saying, all this is really bad. All these bad things really bad. You know, you really put me through it all. But now it's time for me to get up and get ready to leave and go on to the next biggest thing that's for me myself. And I told you since the beginning, since even getting into whatever type of relationship this is, that I am that girl. And you can't tell me anything less. And then we go into Cheat Back. Now, along with an interest in it being not necessarily a mood switch up, but more so of a seamless message transition from being that girl to then saying, since you want to doubt me so bad, I'm going to cheat on you. Two can play their game, let's do this. As well as Cheat Back is one of my favorites. It is. It's among my top 5, and it battles out between the later tracks that we're going to get into as being my number 1 in the album. So, without further ado, let's get into Cheat Back. So, of course, while we're still in the song, we're still in that world of being in relations to each other. Because I'm cheating on you while I'm in the relationship because you're cheating on me. So two could play that game, let's do it. And so I'm sitting there and I'm questioning myself, now wait a minute, girl. I know, okay, you know, you can go and do all that, but we were just talking about being a soldier. We were just talking about being a girl. You know, we were just talking about being that girl. So why are we still in this relationship just to prove a point of cheating back? That really doesn't, that cancels out everything that we were just standing on, which emphasizes the reason of that being a persona. And so it really goes back and forth, kind of dismissing our past claims. And so now I'm thinking, oh, the attachment is strong. It is intense, and yet the focal point is on revenge. We are adamant on cheating on our partner. We are gun-ho, if you will, on showing that, okay, you can go and do this. All right, then. So on this random Wednesday, I'm about to go for a drive. I'm going to go and visit some dude with some tats. Show him that I could throw it back. Maybe then you'll know how to act if I cheat back. Now, hold on. Wait a minute. There's a lot going on. We're saying if I cheat back. Specifically, if I cheat back. That's interesting on the if part, I cheat back. But what's also interesting is the fact that even though throughout this album so far, we're not on anything that's serious, we're just on super light casual fun, kind of. We're getting more and more on the borders of wanting this to be something serious. So the focal point of it being revenge is kind of giving that motivation to, okay, maybe you'll pick yourself back up. Maybe you'll actually get serious about me and about pursuing me if I show you that I have the same capabilities of doing what you did to me to you. But then that kind of throws everything off because we were just being a soldier. We were just standing on business saying that I am that girl. If you gonna cheat on me, I'm gonna leave. But now we're saying that if I cheat back on you, that'll make you want to care. Maybe it'll motivate you to make this a more serious thing because, like we were saying before, it's not, everything is not serious. It's not fully there yet. It's not connecting. But maybe this can get it to, you see what I'm saying? And so then another point that can be added to those lines is the simple fact that even though that you're doing all these things to motivate whoever this is to take it more serious, it's the fact that you have to put yourself in these most extreme of cases in order for you to get a smidgen of the desire and proper attention that you are worthy of. By you going all the way up here, in turn, you are putting yourself all the way down here just to get a crumb of your potential, of your worth. And so that is the dilemma that Cheat Back really puts us in. And it doesn't help with the fact that the feature is Future. And so it all goes into the main question of the song, which is, as soon as you finish, why did you start crying? And that's where Future comes in, where I believe, of course, because of given the track record, that they're symbolizing the partner itself in this storyline. However, the question is stated as a jab, almost saying, I know that you really don't have this in you, and I know at the end of the day, you can't do what I do to you. And in that same note, they're recognizing how much they are putting her down to this point, realizing the fact that this is hurting Chloe. They know it because they sat up here and said, I know you can't do what I'm doing to you back to me because you don't have the heart to do it. Essentially saying, I have the heart to do it. Because like I said before, they are finding peace in disrupting hers. So a funny side comment that I found to this track specifically was the fact that it is centered on doing retrospective work, but it has the feature of Future in the future. But it also adds to it because it is keeping consistent to the narrative of In Pieces giving Future's previous track record in relationships. If you find that funny, we see each other. Anyways, back to what I was saying. So going along to my earlier points of her having to go to such high extremes just to get a smidgen of the attention that she is worth, it then goes into these distorted feelings that I would take as infatuation, manipulation. You know, it's these things that she is doing for the partner that the partner knows that they have this other person doing all these things just for them. And it kind of gives that controlling sense that we're getting into as we keep going, specifically as we are pointing out the faults. We see that controlling tendency that really comes out within the manipulation. We get into that part on Future's feature where he wants her to stay while he goes out and essentially is just cheating on her and treating her wrong, knowing that there's a part of her that just can't leave because of the fact that they're so emotionally attached to each other. And then we have lines of his feature where it starts to kind of feel like he's victimizing himself to keep her locked in or seeking out empathy to keep her locked in. And so we have these lines of, that's my little twin I see trying to win I see, get revenge I see. The beauty of you, that's what's gonna do it for me. No one above you, girl, you the best. Should have never let you down, feeling embarrassed, temptation haunting me like you never imagined. Around those lines, that's when it starts to get into, okay, now what are we really doing here? As somebody that's not in the relationship, really looking inside of it, is just like, girl, this person is manipulating you. They are throwing a pity party and you're having tea and crumpets with them. You gots to go. You gots to go. And so now we're at the bridge at 2 minutes and 42 seconds. And this is when we start to hype ourselves up to following through. Now, at the start of the song, we said, if I cheat back. Then we end it all by saying, I'm a cheat back. Now we're following through everything. And as we're following through and hyping ourselves up, it's then reflected in the productions of everything. The vocals start to go up, the production starts to build, almost as if it is the enactment of reaching that mental space of saying, you know what? Yeah. You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna do it. Let's go. Let's go, little kitty cat. You don't want no more. And then that brings us to the ending at 3 minutes, 3 seconds. From there to the 3 minutes and 30 seconds, we're belting. I think, given Chloe's music so far that we're into, I'm thinking that we're belting, but I could be wrong. I am not a vocalist. I don't know, but she is. And so we're belting, and I think that along with building us up, being the hype into actually following through with this, the belting is symbolizing it actually happened. We're now past if I cheat back. We're now past, you know what, I'm gonna do it. We're at I am doing it. And everything is back to being an emotional high. There's so many things going on. I'm proving you wrong. I'm in this act right now. Everything feels good right now. And then as the song ends, it's over. You've already cheated back. You've already committed to this. You're done. And then it ends with you having the question get posed back to you. Cheating on each other, you finish. Why'd you start crying? Almost getting that potential breaking point after the question gets posed officially. Because now the question's been, this is the second time the question's been posed. And so now it's sitting with her. Now that everything's been carried out, everything's been committed. There's no other point of the road to go to now. We just have to go. And that's when we really start to descend again into Heart on My Sleeve. Now this track being another one of my top 5. Beautiful. Another technique that she does, and she does it really well, is enacting the emotions in the song itself. Now, of course, there are other icons before her that really taught that and really put it into the music itself. But of course, when in pieces, you're gonna be crying. And throughout this entire track, whether it just be 58 seconds, it almost felt like she was at the brink of tears from start to finish as we slowly approach the end of the album. Now, we start off with "Wear My Heart on My Sleeves, It's 100 Degrees, I Can Feel Everything." Truly, the tone of the track is there. It's the setup of everything. Even though, like I said, this track is short, those 2 lines really set up the intensity of where this album is headed towards. You know, we get the addressing the both private and public affairs that we have going on, whether it be centered in public opinion on how she's been, because if we take in context to this album, we've had those singles of Have Mercy, Surprise, Treat Me, along with the pursuit of a solo career, and everybody is criticizing every single thing that this girl is doing. And they're not even taking the time to be like, wait a minute, even though this is different than what I was expecting, let's at least let her develop. Let's see where this goes. So it can be addressing that, both the public opinion of the audience as well as what's going on privately, which is what has been described throughout this album as this tumultuous relationship, no matter if it's still casual, if it's gotten to some form of a seriousness, whatever it is, as well as whatever other things could be going on in her life that isn't directly or obviously pointed out in the album itself. All these things are coming together to give us those lines of being hurt, feeling everything. I feel like I'm on fire. And throughout this whole album, it's being constantly shared that I am overwhelmed. I am emotionally burnt out. This is tiring. This is draining. But still, I pursue. During moments like that, where everything is being pulled apart and dissected, that's where I feel as though the lines, "They all say I'm naive, but it's better than nothing," along with the question being posed, well, what about me? All these things are happening right now, but don't forget me. What about me? And then a panic attack ensues. And that is all sonically coming together to really hone in that intensity of everything that's been felt throughout this album, taking into context her as a person, and then addressing everything that's been coming her way publicly. And so that short track of intense feeling brings us to our final track, In Pieces. So while Heart on My Sleeve really takes in everything, it lets you feel it all. Each transition into In Pieces really takes the cake and sets in not only the final listening experience you get to have with her, as well as it explains where we are right now. in the fact that we're ending on this low note, even though I feel as though we've moved on, there's still something to mourn. And that's what I feel like this song is about. Especially with the fact that throughout this whole song, it is nothing but a piano. It is nothing but a piano throughout the whole time. And even when going back and seeing what a piano symbolizes in music, I believe that it really harps on to the Romanticism era of a piano, where it was used to display the dramatic, the nuances, the heartbrokenness, more importantly, the human experience that is felt. And that all goes together to give us In Pieces, where we start off with, I want to be where you are. Now, when listening to this song, I would like to point out that I do not think, still don't, I do not think that this song is just about one person. As you listen to these lyrics themselves, even though the rest of the album was, about the ifs and offs and buts and all this nuances in a relationship, I think this itself talks about various relationships. Specifically with the fact that I was saying, I want to be where you are. I don't think that that is something that you would want to say or your desire to say while being in relations with someone that's really putting you through the ringer. So it has to be towards someone else. And as the song is In Pieces, there are lines that go along saying, I want you to comfort me. I want somebody like you to comfort me whenever I'm in pieces, which is why I don't think this is about that partner. I think this is also about her. It could be about herself, picking herself back up. It could also be about someone else that is loved and cherished, that is there as a comfort to her when she gets put in these moments. Now, what I would add on to that, with the wonder of whether or not she's talking about herself picking herself up, I think if we're going along with that line, the I want to be where you are could be a callback to the persona in Soldier, in that character being the strong person that really takes on the brunt of everything and is able to also pick everything back up and keep going. Maybe that is the actual person that she is on her way to being, and she only got a taste or semblance of that in that track itself, almost as if to summon that aspect of her, but it's not there yet. So instead, we get a persona, we get a character of this, and we wait until the actual person comes into the picture to pick it all up, reassure, reaffirm, and let's keep going, because there's no other place but up. Quick little fun fact to this. So, in the song, because I have to be honest, everybody makes up lines every now and then. Sometimes when you make up a line, it sounds better than the actual line. So I'm going to read to you a line that I always thought this was. It actually wasn't. So in the line, feel us lying by outside while you count the stars. Isn't that so sweet? It's really nice. I don't like that line. The line that I came up with, fearless lion by your side while you count the stars. I always thought that was the line, and that was originally going to add on to one of the theories and questions that I had about the song, where it's that paints the image of where you want to be, where you're not there yet. You're not there yet of being this mighty figure, this mighty identity within yourself. You are trapped, you are hurt, you're mourning, and so you want to get to that place. And that is what was going to add on to the soldier concept, but that was just a made-up line. I'm still gonna say that line. That line still exists within the song for me. I don't know about y'all. Maybe y'all should change the line to what I said. Chloe, if you're listening to this, maybe that be the new line. Who knows? And so with that, that concludes all of my notes and wonders about the album in pieces. If you have anything else that you would like to add to the theories or the wonders or the questions that you also had when listening to this, or if you just learned something new, feel free to comment that. I would actually love to hear your input on what you thought about the album and what the album currently makes you feel like or think about. As always, this has been Late Night Music Theory with your host, me. All right, have a good night, y'all. Bye. Said I don't want nobody else.